I was married to her for 42 years. 42. Built a business from the ground up. Concrete and drywall, sweat and splinters. That company had my blood in its walls. I provided. Always. Never once did she go without. But somewhere along the way, she stopped looking at me like a man, started looking at me like a stepping stone. You think you know someone until you come home and find half your house empty, and a note that says she's filing. Not a conversation. Not even a damn phone call. Just a signature and a plan. And get this, she was already seeing someone. A man 10 years younger. Real estate type. Drove a Benz, talked slick. Thought he was clever. She didn't just want a divorce. She wanted everything. The house, the cabin, the beach rental I worked 20 years to afford. She went after my pension, my business, even the dog. And the courts? Don't get me started. They nodded along like I was already in the grave. Like being a quiet, hard-working man made me guilty by default. So I gave it to her. Everything she asked for. I watched her walk out of that courtroom with a smug little smile and a folder full of deeds she didn't earn. But I didn't leave empty-handed. I walked out with the one thing she didn't understand: leverage. You see, she didn't know I still had my name on the business loan she refinanced. The cabin? It was tied into a line of credit I controlled. All those properties she was so quick to snatch up. They looked shiny on paper, but they were built on a foundation of my credit, my insurance, and my name. And the minute she cashed in her win, she and her shiny new husband moved into my house and started gutting the kitchen like they were gods of the suburbs. So I waited, just long enough. Then I sold the business, quietly, cashed out everything, settled the debts, called in the loans, pulled the rug out from under every mortgage she didn't realize she was standing on. It hit fast. Foreclosure notices, calls from the bank, construction bills defaulting, and suddenly that marble countertop renovation came to a screeching halt when the water got shut off. She called me. First time in a year. You did this, she hissed. I said, no, you did. I just finished what you started. Now she's living in a rented condo 2 cities away. Her new man left. Couldn't handle the pressure once the money dried up. I hear she's trying to sell furniture to cover legal fees. And me? I'm living small, cozy. Bought myself an RV and travel when I feel like it. I eat where I want, sleep where I want. I've got enough saved to last me the rest of my life, without answering to anyone again. People say revenge is petty. Maybe, but this wasn't revenge. It was justice. Because you can take a man's house, his bank account, even his dog. But if you mistake his silence for weakness, you've already lost. So yeah, maybe I'm just an old man telling stories to anyone who'll listen. But I figure someone out there needs to hear this. Don't let them take your dignity just because they took your stuff. Stand tall, bide your time, and when the dust settles, make damn sure they know what you were really worth. After everything collapsed for her, I didn't celebrate. Don't get me wrong, there was satisfaction. There was peace in watching a woman who treated me like an ATM with legs finally realize the machine was unplugged. But celebration? No, because when you've loved someone for 4 decades, there's no real win in watching them fall. Even if they push you to the edge first, you just sit in the quiet afterward and feel the weight of all that time. Every Christmas morning, every hospital visit, every mundane Tuesday you spent building a life brick by brick, thinking she was building it with you. Turns out, she was just counting bricks. So yeah, I got my justice. But I also got something else, clarity. Do you know how many years I spent keeping the peace? Biting my tongue? Letting her rewrite the rules of our marriage one snide comment at a time? You don't realize you've been living in someone else's house until you try to open a window, and they scold you for letting the breeze in. That's what it was like at the end. She didn't want a husband. She wanted a symbol. Something to parade when it looked good for the neighbors, and stash away when it didn't. She wanted my work ethic, not my soul. She wanted my name, not my voice. And when I stopped fitting the roles she had for me, she recast the play and walked off stage like it was always meant to end. Let me tell you something no one else will. Sometimes the most righteous thing you can do is walk away from the ashes with your hands clean. People said I should fight harder in court, that I should lawyer up, expose the affair, go for blood. But I didn't need a courtroom victory. I needed freedom. So I gave her everything with a smile. Let her think she won. Let her and that Armani-wrapped termite of a man strut through my old house like royalty, while I, quietly, unplugged every pipe beneath them. You know what's funny? A few months ago, I ran into her by accident. Grocery store. She looked tired, older. The spark she used to fake was gone. She didn't yell, didn't even glare. She just looked at me and said, "You didn't have to do all that." And I smiled, tipped my cap and said, Neither did you, and I walked away. No anger, no bitterness. After the dust settled, after the courts, the papers, the signatures, and the silence, I found something I hadn't felt in decades: space. Not just room in a house, I mean space in my chest, room to breathe, room to think thoughts that weren't wrapped around her moods, or what kind of fight I'd be walking into when I came home, or what cold shoulder I'd have to drape a blanket over just to keep things from cracking. Do you know what freedom tastes like after 40 years of clenched teeth? Like air, like your own damn name on your tongue again. You learn something when you lose everything. The things that are truly yours, no one can take. Not a court, not a lawyer, not a lover who turned cold. They can seize your house, your money, your time, but they can't touch your grit. They can't buy your peace, and they damn sure can't erase what you know in your gut, that you showed up, day in, day out, paychecks earned, dinners made, emergencies handled, loyalty given, even when it wasn't returned. That counts, even if no one ever gave you a medal for it. You know what I do now? I sit at rest stops and talk to men like me, old-timers, widowers, divorcees, ghosts in denim and flannel. You'd be surprised how many of us there are. Men who gave their best years to someone who was always waiting for someone better to come along. Men who were told love was supposed to hurt if it was real. Men who swallowed every insult, every cold night, every "you don't try hard enough," while building a life that was never really shared. We sit together and swap stories, some bitter, some sweet, all true, and there's healing in that. There's power in being witnessed by someone who's walked through your fire barefoot. Let me tell you what I've learned from all this. Bitterness is a cage. She tried to lock me in one when she left, wanted me broken, small, grumbling into my retirement like a man who got left behind by progress and love. But I didn't play her game. I walked out of that cage, burned the blueprint, built something better from the ashes. You want to know the real end of this story? Here it is. I met someone, not like her, not flashy, not calculating, a woman who smiles with her whole face, who listens like every word matters, who doesn't need me, but chooses me. She makes soup from scratch, hums while she folds laundry, reads poetry out loud in the mornings while we drink coffee on folding chairs outside the RV. We don't talk about the past much, but she knows. She sees it in the way I pause before saying something hard, in the way I still flinch when someone says, "You should have tried harder." She just squeezes my hand, and that's enough. So yeah, maybe my ex got the house. Maybe she got the plates and the paintings and the damn dog. But I got something she'll never understand: peace, freedom, and a love that asks for nothing but truth. That's worth more than all the mortgages and marble countertops in the world. You made it to the end. That means you were listening, really listening. So take this with you. Don't let pain make you bitter. Let it make you honest. Let it make you better. And when the world writes you off, rewrite the ending, like I did. Because even after everything, I'm still standing, and I'm just getting started. You know what no one tells you after a divorce? After you've lost your house, your title, your old routines? They don't tell you about the quiet. It's loud, at first. You wake up and don't know where the coffee filters are, because someone else always bought them. You open a drawer and it's empty, not because you forgot, but because someone took everything that used to fill it. It stings. But then the quiet becomes something else. It becomes clarity. The first time I heard nothing but wind outside my RV window, no TV blaring, no second-hand complaints, no dripping bitterness. I felt it deep in my chest. I survived. Not just the divorce, not just the betrayal. I survived her, and everything I let her convince me I wasn't. For years I believed I was too quiet, too passive, too boring. She'd say it like she was giving me feedback, like I was a project that hadn't quite met expectations. But out here, I've learned something. Quiet isn't weakness. Quiet is control. I don't need to shout. I don't need to beg. I don't need to explain myself to people who already made up their minds. I live my life on my own terms now, and you'd be amazed how many people find that threatening, especially those who never found peace without conflict. The woman I'm with now, she gets it. She was hurt too, not by a husband, but by life. Cancer took her sister. Her daughter won't speak to her. She's got stories behind her eyes that no one asks her to tell anymore. But I do. We sit under stars and trade pain like old coins. Worn, valuable, no longer in circulation. She listens like I matter. I listen like I've finally earned the right to. She doesn't want to fix me. She just wants to be here. And let me tell you something, son. After 40 years of being tolerated, being seen is the finest damn thing I've ever felt. You're wondering if I regret it all. The marriage, the years, the loss. I don't, because I wouldn't be who I am now without all of that. I had to be broken to find out I wasn't fragile. Had to be left behind to realize I was always leading, just from behind. She took the house. She took the furniture. She even took the nameplate off my office door. But she didn't take me, because I was never just a name, or a wallet, or a background character in her drama. I was the one who held everything together while she planned her exit. And now? Now I build things that no one can steal. Moments, friendships, quiet joy. So if you're sitting in the rubble of something that used to feel permanent, if your hands are empty, your heart is sore, and the world feels like it's moved on without you, hear this. You're not done. You're just clean. Clean of false love. Clean of someone else's expectations. Clean of carrying dead weight and calling it partnership. Now it's your story. Write it wild. Write it slow. Write it real. Because sometimes, the best chapters come after the last page they thought you'd write. And if anyone asks, tell them the old man said, they thought they ended me. They just gave me a head start. See, I've learned something since all this happened. Something you don't hear in courtrooms or divorce books or retirement brochures. When you rebuild your life, you don't rebuild the same house. You don't use the same blueprint that failed you. You don't put the same old furniture back in the new living room. You don't fill your shelves with pictures of a life that's gone. You build something different, something honest, something that fits the shape of the man you became through the fire. In the beginning, I tried to replace what I lost. I bought another couch, got a dog that looked like the one she took, tried to recreate normal, but it didn't stick, because the man who wanted those things, he was gone, and thank God for that. The man I am now doesn't sit around waiting for things to go back to the way they were. He moves forward. He plants tomatoes instead of arguing about countertops. He fixes his own sink instead of being told he's not doing it right. He laughs without checking if it's allowed. One time, I took my RV out to the desert, middle of nowhere, no signal, no distractions, just me, the dirt, and the stars. And I remember sitting there, looking up at that sky, thinking, no one's waiting for me to come home, no one's mad I'm late, no one's judging how I spend this moment. And instead of feeling alone, I felt something else, free. Not the kind of freedom you chase when you're young, the wild, rebellious kind. I mean earned freedom, the kind you only get after losing everything that made you small. The kind that grows in the cracks of your broken expectations. That night, I didn't sleep in a king bed. I didn't sip aged wine. I didn't have anyone to impress. I just lay there in the quiet, knowing, this life is finally mine. If you're still listening, still nodding along, still reading between the lines, then hear this loud and clear. You are not what they left behind. You are what rose from it. Let them take what they think matters. The house, the title, the image. You take the soul of the thing, the lesson, the strength, the truth. And when they see you again, whole, smiling, untouchable, they won't understand it. That's fine. Let them wonder. Because men like us? We don't need to be understood. We just need to be real. So yeah, my wife took everything in the divorce. But I gave her something back. A man she'll never get to break again. And in return, I got me. And that, son, is a hell of a trade. You want to know what people said when I left? Some said I was petty, vindictive, that I should have just walked away quietly and let it go. Let it go! I did. I let go of the life I built brick by brick for someone who thought it was disposable. I let go of being a placeholder in my own story. I let go of every fake smile, every cold dinner, every damn night I rolled over to the edge of the bed and stared at the wall wondering if this was all my life would be. But the house? That house I signed over on paper? That wasn't hers, not really, because I took the part she cared about most with me, the money, the foundation, the future. She got the building, I got the blueprint, and without that, she and her shiny new husband couldn't even keep the lights on. They didn't fall because I made them, they fell because they were playing house on a fault line. No love, no vision, no real partnership, just a woman who thought she'd landed her upgrade, and a man who thought he could outmaneuver karma. But karma doesn't need a lawyer, it just waits. And when the repo trucks showed up, and the foreclosure signs went up, and the neighbors started whispering, I wasn't even there. I didn't need to be. That chapter was already closed. What people don't say enough is this. Sometimes the most graceful thing you can do is let the storm hit them without stepping in. Because when someone throws you out like trash, they don't expect you to walk away clean. But that's exactly what I did. Not with rage, not with revenge, with calm, with strategy, with the quiet patience of a man who no longer needs to explain himself. And that shook her more than anything I could have screamed. The best part? I'm not bitter anymore. See, bitterness is heavy. You carry it long enough, it makes you walk like someone twice your age. But I travel light now. I've got a second-hand guitar, a cooler full of decent beer, and a notebook where I write things down that matter. And sometimes, I meet people on the road who ask about my story. I tell them the short version. My wife took everything in the divorce, I say, with a grin. So I gave her one last gift in return, a front-row seat to the collapse of her fantasy. They laugh. But then I look them in the eye and tell them the real truth. She took the things that didn't matter. I kept the one thing that did, myself. So what now? Now I live, not survive, not endure, live. I wake up with the sun on my face, not someone's scorn. I say yes to strangers who feel like old friends. I eat what I want. I drive where I please. I love without fear. I'm not chasing youth or rewriting history. I'm just here, unburdened, unapologetic, free. And if she ever sees me again, and I know someday she will, maybe in line at a bank, or passing through town, or across a restaurant lobby, she won't recognize the man I became. Not because I changed my look, but because I finally wore my own skin. And that's something no one, no ex, no judge, no liar, can ever take away again. So go on. Let them think they won, while you take your time, and build something they'll never be invited into. You ever notice how people stop looking you in the eye after a divorce? Like grief is contagious. Like failure might rub off on them if they stand too close. I remember walking into the diner I'd been eating at for 20 years, and suddenly the waitress, who used to know my coffee order by heart, just said, "Hey, sorry to hear." And that was it. They all expected me to fade, to crumble, to move into some sad little apartment, and collect regrets like bottle caps. But instead, I hit the road. I didn't need a destination, I just needed motion. One night I pulled off into a little town nobody ever writes about. Population couldn't have been more than 300, one gas station, one bar, no cell service, and a hardware store that still ran on paper receipts. I parked the RV under a massive oak tree and just sat. No music, no thoughts, just wind through the leaves and the distant sound of someone hammering something in the next yard over. And I realized, I don't miss her. I miss the version of me I tried to be for her. I miss the peace I never had, the voice I never used, the freedom I never claimed. That night, I stopped grieving her, and I started welcoming me. I started doing little things I never used to, like learning how to cook something without opening a box first, like sitting in a park for hours with a notebook and a cup of gas station coffee, just watching old couples feed birds and young ones argue about nothing. I started walking more, talking less, listening harder, and people noticed. There's something about a man who's done being afraid. They think it's wisdom. Maybe it is. Or maybe it's just the calm that comes when you survive a storm and realize you were the anchor, not the ship. Eventually, I made friends again. Real ones, not the ones who stuck around out of obligation or appearances. Men who've been through it. Women who didn't flinch when I said I lost everything. People who get it. And we didn't talk about pain all the time. We talked about life. About the way a quiet morning can feel like a second chance. About how grilled cheese sandwiches taste better over a campfire. About books we never had time to read while playing house and lives we never wanted. One of those friends, Frank, a guy who lost his wife to cancer and never stopped loving her, said something to me one night that stuck. You don't move on, you move with, you carry the scars, but you don't let them carry you. That hit me like a freight train, because I'd been dragging my story behind me like a punishment. But now I wear it like armor, not to fight, but to remind myself that I've already won. So what would I say to her now, if I had the chance? Honestly? Nothing. I don't need closure. I am the closure. I don't need an apology. I gave myself forgiveness. I don't need her to understand what she lost, because I understand what I gained. Freedom isn't just about walking away. It's about never needing to look back. So yeah, she took everything in the divorce. But what she left behind was a man unchained, unbothered, unbreakable. And when people ask me how I got here, I just smile and say, she built the fire, but I walked through it, and I came out gold. You know what the hardest part was? Not losing her, not the house, not the savings. It was losing the version of myself that thought I couldn't live without those things. That guy, the one who worked 60-hour weeks to buy her things she stopped appreciating, who bit his tongue to keep the peace, who shrank a little more each year to make space for her storms. He was the one I had to bury. And it wasn't easy. Hell, it was grief. You don't just walk away from a man you spent decades pretending was normal. You dig him up, hold him in your hands, and say, You deserve better, but you didn't know it yet. I used to think strength was keeping it all together. Now I know better. Strength is letting it fall apart when it has to. Strength is walking into an empty room, knowing no one's coming to save you, and still unpacking your bags like it's home. Strength is being alone, and not being lonely. Because let me tell you something most folks don't say. Solitude is not punishment. It's the proving ground for peace. You sit with yourself long enough, you start to hear things, like your own voice. And if you're lucky, like I was, you find out it's not nearly as bitter or broken as they made you believe. I remember this one night, middle of Arizona, no lights for miles, just the desert, the stars, and the whisper of wind against the windows of the RV. And I caught myself laughing, just laughing. Nothing funny had happened. I just cracked open a cold beer, put my boots up, and realized this is mine, this stillness, this breath, this night where no one needs anything from me. It was the first time in years that I got to need me, and I showed up. People think revenge is some grand gesture, some burning bridge or final jab, but the best revenge is peace, real peace, not a rented smile, not a performative Instagram trip, but the kind of peace that sits in your bones and says, let them think whatever they want, I'm living. She used to say I was too predictable, and maybe I was, but now I'm a man no one can predict. I might wake up tomorrow and drive to Montana, or stay parked by the coast for a week, watching seagulls fight over crusts of bread. I answer to no one, not out of bitterness, but out of balance. Because when you stop performing for people who never clap for you, your whole damn soul exhales. So here's what I'd say to the man out there still licking his wounds. Don't rush the healing, but don't stay bleeding. Get up. Even if your hands are shaking and your heart feels hollow, start small. A walk, a list, a meal you make just for you, and then do it again tomorrow. Until one day you wake up and the air tastes like freedom and your reflection looks like someone worth knowing again. Because you are. Even now, especially now. She took everything in the divorce. But she didn't take my will. She didn't take my grit. She didn't take my laugh. She didn't take me. And in the end, that was the only thing worth keeping. So if you see me out there, gray in the beard, dirt on the boots, sun in my face, don't say sorry. Just nod. Because you'll know, this old man didn't just survive the storm. He built his house right in the eye of it, and called it home.
I stopped counting what she took. That list, house, furniture, half the retirement, my dog, hell, even the good cast iron skillet. It stopped mattering. Because what I gained was truth. I used to think truth was something you argued for. Something you proved with receipts, records, court filings. But real truth? It's quiet. It doesn't scream. It doesn't need anyone to believe it but you. And the truth is, she left me with everything I needed to finally live free. You ever talk to a man who's tasted his own breaking point? Not just brushed it, lived there. You can hear it in his voice. There's a calm under the words. Like a river that used to rage, now just flows deep. That's me now. No more raised voice. No more clenched jaw. No more trying to be reasonable with people who thrive on chaos. If someone brings drama into my life now, I just smile and step aside, because when you've survived someone who loved you like it was a competition, you learn peace is priceless. Here's something I haven't told anyone yet. A few months back, I got a letter. No return address. No signature. But I knew the handwriting. It was her. Just a few lines. Said she was sorry. Said things didn't turn out the way she thought they would. Said she hoped I was okay. I folded it up, tucked it back in the envelope, and placed it in the fire pit the next morning with my coffee. Watched the flames curl around the edges and lift it to smoke. Not out of anger, but because some stories don't need sequels. Some chapters deserve to stay closed. Now I build new things. I planted a little garden behind the RV last spring. Tomatoes came out crooked and defiant, like they'd survived a storm of their own. I laughed when I saw them, because I knew exactly how they felt. I write too. Little notes, journals, even started a book. Might never finish it, but that's not the point. The point is I make things again. With my hands, with my words, with my time, not for approval, not for applause, just for me.
Sometimes, at a rest stop or diner, some young man will sit near me, nervous, quiet, heavy eyes. I recognize it right away. That's a man standing in the ashes of what he thought life was supposed to be. And when the moment feels right, I lean over and say, she might have taken everything, but if you're still breathing, son, you've got something she never will. A chance to build a life that ain't pretending anymore. And he always looks at me like I'm crazy. Until he nods, and I know it landed. So let me leave you with this. They may take the house, the name, the rings, the stuff. Let them. What they can never take is your soul, your voice, your freedom, your damn dignity. Unless you hand it to them, don't. She took everything in the divorce, so I cashed out. And built a life so unshakably mine, it doesn't even remember her name. I remember a night in New Mexico, parked near some canyon where the stars come out like they're putting on a damned show just for you. I was sitting on the edge of the world with nothing but a cheap folding chair, a chipped mug of whiskey, and a heart that had finally gone quiet. Not numb, not cold, just still. That was the night I realized I didn't hate her anymore. Not because she earned forgiveness, but because I earned peace. You see, hatred is a chain, and every time you tell the story just to stay angry, you wrap that chain tighter around your own throat. I didn't want that weight anymore, so I let it fall. That next morning, I wrote this in my notebook. You don't win by getting even, you win by getting free. That line stuck with me, became a kind of creed. Every decision I've made since has come back to that. Is this freedom? Is this peace? If not, it's not mine to carry. I met a woman last fall, didn't see that coming, wasn't looking, wasn't ready. Hell, I still had one foot out the emotional door, but she was patient. She didn't come to fix me, didn't ask me to be anyone but exactly who I was. She just sat with me, listened, laughed at my terrible cooking, shared stories of her own. And it hit me one day, sipping coffee across from her. There's life after loss. There's love after destruction, but only if you make space for it. So many men spend years trying to win back the woman who broke them. Or worse, rebuild her in someone else. But when you stop doing that, when you stop trying to rewrite the past, and instead rewrite yourself, you don't just heal, you rise. She still thinks she took everything, and I guess on paper she did, but what she really did was set me free. She knocked down the prison walls and handed me the keys. She showed me who I never want to be again, and I thank her for that, in silence, with distance, and with no desire to go back. Let me tell you this, friend. There will come a day when the pain fades into something else, not joy right away, not clarity, but lightness, like the first breath after a long dive. You'll stand under the sun, with nothing and no one claiming your worth but you, and you'll feel taller than you ever did in that old life. That's the moment, the one they can never take from you. So if you ever feel like you've lost it all, remember me, not because I'm special, but because I walked through the fire, and came out carrying myself. And that's everything. Here's the truth they never say in courtrooms or support groups. The worst part of the divorce wasn't what she took, it was what she left behind. The silence, the second guessing, the damn echo of, was it all a lie? It lingers. I'd be washing dishes and suddenly remember the way she used to run her hand down my back like I was hers forever. I'd feel stupid, weak, angry at myself for missing her when she'd gutted me. But pain doesn't always wear logic. Grief walks its own path, and so I let it. I stopped trying to man up and just sat in it. And in that silence, something cracked open. Not my heart, my self-respect. I started asking questions I'd never dared to before. What did I give up just to keep her smiling? When did I stop dreaming out loud? Who was I before I became someone else's idea of good enough? The answers weren't pretty, but they were honest. Turns out the man I used to be? He wasn't weak, he was buried, under years of walking on eggshells, compromising too far, apologizing for things that weren't my fault. So I dug him out, before her, before court dates and division agreements, and when I found him, he was still standing. So I built my life like a man builds a cabin in the wild, slow, careful, from the ground up. Each day added something, a routine, a goal, a truth I didn't need to water down for anyone. I talked to old friends, repaired the bridges worth saving, burned the ones that only led back to pain. I started moving my body again, not to look better, but to feel strong. I looked in the mirror and stopped flinching, and one day, I forgave myself for staying too long, for loving too hard, for thinking loyalty meant self-erasure. Because I see it now, loving someone doesn't mean disappearing for them. It means showing up as you are, and if they can't meet you there, let them go. She took the house, but I've stood on mountaintops since then. She took the savings, but I've sat in free forests, drinking coffee that tasted like freedom. She took the ring, but I wear something heavier now, peace. It's quiet, it's earned, and no court can file it away. If you're still in the fire, brother, listen close. There is life after the ending, not a rebound, not a mask, a real life, built by your hands, fed by your values, carried by your voice. Don't let bitterness be the story you tell yourself every night. Let resilience be the one you live. She thought she won, but she just let me go. And in doing that, she handed me the first true gift she ever gave, the chance to become whole without her, and I took it. I remember the first time I truly slept after it all, not just passed out from exhaustion or numbed myself with whiskey. I mean deep, unguarded, belly up to the stars rest. It was somewhere in Wyoming, middle of nowhere, where the wind talks more than the people. I parked the RV at a place called El Calo, dirt lot, no service, not a single distraction, just trees, wind, and the steady hum of a life I finally didn't have to explain. And that night, I laid down, and I didn't dream of courtrooms, or her face, or what I'd lost. I dreamed of nothing, because for the first time in years, my mind was quiet, and that is a kind of wealth no one lists in a divorce settlement. Now, I don't carry rage, I carry lessons. I don't live to prove her wrong, I live to prove myself right. Right for walking away, right for surviving, right for changing the ending. You see, people think getting over something means forgetting it, but I didn't forget what she did. I remember it clearly, like you remember touching a hot stove. You don't hate the stove, you just never touch it again. You move different, you guard your peace like it's oxygen, and you trust yourself again. Because now you know, when the ground crumbles you know how to stand. Some days I get questions from younger men going through it. How long until it stops hurting? I tell them this. It stops the moment you stop asking her to fix it. The moment you stop needing her to admit she was wrong. Stop hoping the past will call you back and say it made a mistake. That call's not coming, but something else is. You, a better version, a stronger one, a man rebuilt, not repainted, and he is worth every bruise it took to meet him. These days I live light. A bag, a truck, a quiet place to write. I've got a dog now, rescued, rough around the edges, just like me. He doesn't care about my past. He just wants to walk in the sunrise. Same. You might think this story ends with revenge, but it doesn't. It ends with release. She took everything in the divorce, and in return, I got something she'll never have. A life that answers to no one, a soul that bows to nothing, and a peace that cannot be bought, only earned. And brother? I earned it. There's a moment that happens when you've truly moved on. And no, it's not when you meet someone new, not when you win something back, not even when you stop feeling pain. It's when you stop telling the story from the place of wound, and start telling it from the place of wisdom. You stop needing people to say, "She did you dirty," or "You didn't deserve that," because you already know. You've made peace with the facts. You've stopped arguing with the past. That's when freedom goes from theory to muscle memory. These days I still think about her, not with longing, not even with anger, just curiosity, like you think about an old town you used to live in, a place you outgrew. There were some good days, sure, but you couldn't stay. It was too small for who you became. That's how I see her now. She was the lesson, I was the student, and now I've graduated. I walk a little slower now, not because I'm tired, but because I finally have the time. I talk less, listen more. I don't rush through my mornings anymore. I brew my coffee slow, stand barefoot on the earth, feel the air. You don't realize how starved you were for peace until you taste it for the first time, and once you've tasted it, you'll never chase chaos again, no matter how pretty the package. The money she took? It's gone, but I've learned to live richer on less. The house she fought to keep? I've seen sunsets in 7 states that made that roof look like a cage. The man I used to be? Buried under years of, yes, dear, and swallowing my truth. He's alive now, scarred maybe, weathered sure, but unapologetically whole. You ever hear a song on the radio you haven't heard in years, and suddenly you're right back in a memory? I get that sometimes. I'll hear a tune, or smell a scent, or pass a woman who walks like she used to, and for a split second, the past taps me on the shoulder, but I just nod at it, because I'm not haunted, I'm just human. Let me tell you something important. Forgiveness isn't saying, "What you did was okay." It's saying, "I'm not letting what you did live rent-free in my head anymore." It's not weakness, it's taking your damn power back. One day, maybe she'll drive by that empty lot where the house we built used to stand, and maybe she'll feel something. Regret, relief, who knows? But me? I won't be there. I'll be in a cabin I built with my own hands, or on a trail in Oregon, or laughing with someone new who loves me without conditions. I won't be a ghost in her story, because I stopped being one in mine. She took everything in the divorce, but I kept the only thing that mattered, myself. And in the end, that was everything. You know what no one tells you? That peace doesn't feel like victory. It feels like absence. No more tight chest. No more rehearsed arguments in the shower. No more need to explain your side of the story to people who weren't there. It's just quiet. And in that quiet, you meet yourself, not the version of you that loved her, not the one who begged or fought or lost, but the one who remained, the one who rose. That's where I live now, not in bitterness, not in memories, but in the after, the part where I stopped looking back, where I stopped being the man who used to be married, or got screwed in the divorce. Now I'm just me, no labels, no victimhood, no need for revenge, just a man who walked through fire and kept walking. So if you're still in the middle of it, still signing papers, still packing boxes, still watching everything you built slip through your hands, hear me when I say this: what's meant for you cannot be taken, and what was taken wasn't yours to keep. I don't hate her, I don't miss her, I don't wish her well, I wish her far, because some people aren't villains, they're just the end of a chapter you needed to outgrow. She took everything in the divorce, and all she left me with was the space to become everything I was meant to be, and God help anyone who tries to take that from me now, because this life? It's mine, finally, fully, and forever.